Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk some My Hero Academia. Specifically, let's keep talking about just the reaction people had to chapter 213. This video, it's gonna be in two parts. Pretty much the first part is just asking the general question, is Izuku overpowered? Which should obviously be yes. Yes, he is overpowered. And also how people reacted to it. I've taken some comments from some of the main threads from the chapter 213 video, and we're just going to talk about those comments. I was just going to reply to them and also talk about, just what kind of logic's going into the comments, and just also people's reactions to it. So anyway, let's just start with the basic question. Because this is a video asking, like, is Izuku going to be overpowered now? Let's not mince words. Yes, Izuku is overpowered. I mean, yes, the author has done things to make it seem reasonable and make it seem balanced, but in reality, yes, Izuku's overpowered. If you went through the overhaul arc and you saw the 100% Izuku, and you thought that was overpowered, barring the fact that he needed help to achieve 100%, just like the state of 100% itself, if you thought that was overpowered, then yeah, the general question, Izuku receiving 6 more quirks, yeah, he's going to be more overpowered than before. It shouldn't even be a question here. Now, if you don't think that One For All, just the power or the super strength aspect of it was overpowered, then even just looking at what's happened with Izuku receiving his Black Whippo, I can't say the proper word because that gets dinged in YouTube, but it's just Black Rope. I'll call it Black Rope. Yes, Izuku receiving Black Rope. The kind of overpoweredness that kind of represents is just that degree of versatility. If you recall back to Overhaul, one of the big things that, well, people pointed out that he was overpowered, and one of the big things that contributed to that was just ultimately one quirk that could do many things. A quirk that could control the environment, it could earthbend effectively, could cause needles to pop out of the earth. Its activation conditions was as simple as a single touch from one finger, and it could bring back people who were on the brink of death. These were all things that contributed to making that particular quirk overpowered, on top of being able to fuse with other quirk users, or just being able to fuse with other people in general to make an even bigger monstrosity. The versatility is what made that quirk really overpowered, and that versatility is something that's also going to contribute to Izuku being overpowered in general. Now, mind you, does Izuku need to be overpowered in the story of My Hero Academia? And the reality is, yes. Yes, Izuku does need to be overpowered because we have the likes of All For One involved, and we have the likes of the High-End Nomu involved. Because the bar is set so high, yes, Izuku does need to be overpowered, but the general question, you shouldn't be saying that Izuku isn't overpowered, especially when compared to the rest of his classmates. So that's the very quick, is Izuku overpowered? The simple answer is pretty much, yes, he was overpowered before, although there were shackles on it to make it seem better. Now, he has more versatility. He's probably going to be overpowered in the future. It's like a 4 out of 5 chance shot. It's 80% certain. And the last 20% is reserved in case the author just goes crazy and ruins the story somehow. Moving away from that, what I was really interested in was, of course, the reaction to Izuku being even more overpowered than he is now, because it was really interesting. Some people were really upset, but the big comments that got a lot of attention on the 213 video were comments that were more asking, why were people getting so upset? So I want to go through those particular comments and just talk about what was going on with the ideas here. So I'm just going to flash the comments onto the screen. The first comment thread that I picked out was from Blue AMVs, and it was just pretty much asking, why are people saying Izuku having 6 more quirks is overpowered? We don't even know what they are. One quirk could be something that backfires on Izuku, or it could be something where it changes Izuku's look, like a mutation, just saying. And then moving over to the other one, we had Silent Protagonist also asking, I don't know why people are getting so mad about Izuku having more than 1 quirk. If you think about it, Todoroki has 2 quirks. So these 2 comments were some of the more prominent comments in the comment threads. And as you can see, these fans are definitely glass half full type people. In other words, they're way more optimistic than the rest of the jaded community here. And I think it is important to have a nice balance of both optimistic and jaded people here. But we gotta talk about, where are these rationales coming from, and where exactly do these pieces of logic kind of break down? So with Blue here, first off, let's acknowledge, Blue's pointing out the possibility that there's a good chance that some of those quirks are duds. And you know what? That's pretty fair. There could be a dud among that quirk. But here's where we could talk about just narrative strength here. Do you think the author himself would want to give a dud? Maybe he might produce 1 or 2 duds for the comedic value and make a joke out of it and get some like value out of that. But considering that we are in a shonen series and those series are known for just escalating the power scales as the story develops just to make things more exciting, chances are the quirks that Izuku has left to unlock are going to be useful. And even if we were to assume that the remaining 5 quirks that we haven't seen are underpowered, Izuku has black by itself, creates a whole new paradigm for Izuku to explore. You remember that scene of All Might coming out of a bus carrying a bunch of people? Imagine that scene with Izuku, except he's carrying people on his back, and then he has black grabbing into like 10 other directions, whole bunches of people. Because one quirk can drastically change the situation, even if you discount the majority of the other 5 remaining quirks, even one more is just going to it's just going to take us from a situation where Izuku's overpowered to more overpowered. Mind you, at this stage, I don't think Izuku has reached the level of overpowered. It's just because overhaul could mess with more things. But if even 1 or 2 or more of those quirks give Izuku new actions in another area, it's pretty much said and done. That said, it is important, again, just for Blue in particular, it is important to acknowledge that overpoweredness in Hero Academia has traditionally been linked to just, well, having a lot of quirks. And the Nomus are the testament to that. All for One is a testament to that. Overhaul is a testament to that, even though he only had 1 quirk. It's just versatility, right? Versatility gives people more answers, and that's something we have seen in Hero Academia. Still, I do like the notion of something backfiring on Izuku, but given what we've seen from Black Rope and also One for All's super strength in general, it's most likely that all the quirks that Izuku gets are going to backfire on him until he kind of learns how to use them. Now, next comment from Silent Protagonist, this was just one of those questioning why do people get so mad about Izuku having more than 1 quirk, and then bringing up the example of Todoroki. So this comment is a little bit hard for me to understand the perspective because I could see 2 possible perspectives why they're bringing this up. First off is just a broad strokes perspective where they're like, maybe they're wondering why are people bothered about the notion of another quirk in Izuku given that other people have more than 1 quirk and they are loved, and I guess they bring up Todoroki as that example. If that's the perspective that Silent Protagonist was using, specifically just questioning why people are angry at the notion of it, I think that's not what people are actually upset about. It's more the implications of having that power there. Regardless, for this case, I think people in general are pretty excited about, or maybe, yeah, no, I think people in general are pretty excited, given what I've seen, about Izuku having more than 1 quirk. I mean, it's been a topic of discussion for a very long time, and we find out he has 5 more after Black Rope to discover. I think people are excited about it, but I think there is a lot of just, like I said before, there's a lot of worry about it. And it's a very interesting example that Silent Protagonist brought up here as Todoroki. If we assume that they were saying Todoroki as an example of people being okay with someone having more than 1 quirk and being a fan favorite character and being loved, then, you know, that's a good point. But it's also important to note that Todoroki is relatively overpowered. Like, remember, Todoroki is the character that we were introduced to. One of the first things he does is wipe out a whole field of villains, and the thing that he's worried about is making sure not to go overboard and killing them. When you have a character that's already contemplating the optics of him annihilating a bunch of villains, you know, that's an overpowered character. Relatively overpowered. When you see him at the sports festival using his giant block of ice, that's relatively overpowered. The thing with Todoroki is that he was balanced out by being given trauma, and the trauma, we see him in a lot of really weakened emotional positions, which makes him seem like a little bit more controllable in terms of the power skill. But Todoroki is relatively overpowered. So it's interesting that you bring it up, because Todoroki doesn't really fix the problem. And even if we were to talk about people that have more than 1 quirk, again, like everyone else that falls into this category is ultimately a bastion of overpoweredness. Like, the first Nomu needed All Might to deal with it. All Might and then the help of some other people to deal with it. Now, Silent Protagonist pointing out Todoroki does point out another thing that can kind of make Izuku more overpowered when it comes to weaknesses. And that's specifically that, as we find out in the Endeavor chapters, Todoroki was a case of, if Shoto had inherited just the fire side, he would have had a bigger weakness than he has now, because a big part of Endeavor's power is this aspect of overheating. That's where the weakness pops up. In Shoto inheriting the freezing side, he got to make a very debilitating weakness into a more manageable weakness. Like Shoto's weakness now is that whenever he uses his ice, he has to use his fire to cool himself, or yeah, to warm himself up, or if he uses too much fire, he has to use his ice to cool himself down. He was given a management instead of just a straight weakness like the ones that Endeavor has. So in that case, you have an example where having another quirk makes your overall weaknesses lower. So that's another thing that could be applied to Izuku. Like for instance, Izuku and just Black Rope. If Izuku breaks his arms, is there anything stopping him from using Black Rope as a kind of cast? Like we've seen Izuku like put his finger in his mouth to just unleash a bit of a airstream before, right? Imagine him now doing that with using Black Rope as maybe kind of like puppet strings to move his arms around, right? There's nothing stopping that from happening. Anyway, those were the two main comments that I saw, and they had a lot of replies. As you can see, 27 replies for Silent Protagonist, 24 replies for Blue. It was a pretty interesting comment thread, although people were getting pretty heated. I do want to end off with one more comment, specifically from All for One and One for All. And the part that I really liked was, I think people will worry that this makes him overpowered, but he'll have to unlock them one at a time and master each one individually. This may actually prove to be a huge obstacle for Izuku, especially now that he has to worry about his own thoughts and emotions on top of his actions and words. All for One is kind of pointing it out there. There is still some level of difficulty associated to this, and now he has to worry about new things other than just body incompatibility. Now he might have to worry about thought incompatibility, things like that. He might have to achieve those clearer states of mind in order to be able to use these powers. So you still have the possibility for Izuku to have legitimate struggle in all this, but we should also be aware he's probably going to be overpowered by the end of the story. It's just a matter of how quickly do we get to that stage of overpoweredness, and I still think there's going to be a long time before we get there. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for me. Let me know what you thought down below, and also keep an eye out. The next videos that we're going to do are pretty much going to just be either videos about what other quirks could Izuku be hiding in his body, and also what could Black Rope. And guys, thanks for just being with me and allowing me to say rope instead of the other word. What abilities could Black Rope potentially do for Izuku in the future? Anyway, keep an eye out for those videos, and until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.